How's it going, everybody? Thank you for watching this video. And just a quick note, if you guys are subscribed, or if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. And when you do, click this little bell here on my channel and get all notifications sent to you from my channel. That way you guys can be updated with all of my channel updates and uploads and whatever else I do on here. Thanks for watching. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the source code. My name is Deshawn, and today we are going to be working on our game mechanics. And sorry if you just heard my watch go off. I just set a timer there so I can sort of keep track of my time here. So I said that we're going to be going over some game mechanics, and that's true. We are going to be setting up the game mechanics for TNT tag, but there are a few changes I have to make once again. So I'll basically explain how I'm doing this series so far. But first, all the code will be available to you guys on GitHub from this video, so be sure to check it out. But basically how I'm doing this is I have most of the plugin coded almost 100% right now. It's not perfect, but it's almost there. So some of the things that we did in the first two videos might change now that I've sort of gotten the plugin almost finished. And basically, I have it pulled up here on the side of me. I'm kind of just rewriting what I've already written, but I'm going to try to explain it and explain why I have written it the way I have. So obviously we have this hash map here, which we set up last time, but we're going to need two more things here. We're just going to space this out so we can just separate these. So we're going to need a public array list of players. There's this thing saying that you really shouldn't use players because it could cause memory leaks, which is partially true. But for this, it's going to be a lot easier for what we need than using UUIDs. So we're just going to use this for now. And since we're not really dealing with a whole bunch of players on the server, like I said, this will probably host about 10 players or like 20 players max. Since we're making this like a mini game, and it's going to come off of a minigame hub. Players left game. Alright, so these two array lists that I have just created are pretty important for the way I have this plugin set up. So we created these two array lists because we want to keep an array list of all the players in the game. And now, not just the players that are online, right? Because say you have a game that holds 15 people, right? There's going to be 15 people online at all times, but there's not going to be 15 people in the game. There'll be 15 people in the game when the match starts, but when people are getting tagged and killed, they're not really in the game anymore. They're dead, but they're still on the server. So we don't want to just use Bukkit.get online players because it's going to give us everybody. And then we need this array list for players who left the game, right? Because we want this because we want to make sure that if a player leaves the game, that they can or can't come back, depending. So that's why this is important as well. We want to keep track of the players that left the game. That way you can have maybe create reprimand. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. Basically, you can maybe give them a temporary kick or ban or whatever for leaving the game, or temporary XP loss or whatever it may be. But that's that. So we're going to move back into our game mechanics here. And one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to work on this player join. So we need a lot to happen when the player joins. But the first thing we're going to do here is we need to go ahead and have a private int. And this is going to be taggers selected. We'll use this later on. We might not get to it in this video, but we'll definitely use that later on. Oh, we don't need that. I don't know why I put that there. Tagger selected. All right, so we'll put that there. And first thing we're just going to kind of clean this up a little bit here. So what we need to say is if plugin.GameManager.isStarted equal false, we will go ahead and run some code here. And this is where we are going to grab this code right here. We're going to just get rid of that, and we're going to put that there. And so the reason why we have this is because we have to go ahead and make sure that the game is not started yet when the player joins. If it does, we need to basically not let them join. So we'll just put in bungee cord pushback. We'll write to do bungee cord pushback because we want them to be pushed back to the hub server and sent a message when they try to join and the match has already started. Alright, so now that we have that done, what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and see if the player had left the game already, because if they did, we don't want them to be able to join back. So we're going to go ahead and say if plugin dot players left game dot contains player, oops, and we're going to say to do bungee pushback. And I will be setting up a bungee server later on to completely test everything and sort of top this all off. And we also want to get rid of the join message here. So event.get join message dot, not get, dot set join message, and we'll just set that to nothing right now because we don't want it to be anything. And basically the default join message just said, like, it would say Malik DBusic join the game, but I just want to get rid of that because I want to keep the chat as clean as possible. And so the next thing we have to do is, we already did this, which is great. We want to go ahead and add them to the players in game and then add them to the lobby wait, which we already did right there. So we're going to go ahead and just say plugin dot players in game dot add, and we're just going to add player. And we are just going to shift these around. And alright, so what we're doing here is when the player joins the server, we're checking to see if the game has started. If it has, we want to push them back to the main server. If not, we are going to then check if the player had left the game already. And if so, or left that lobby, we want to push them back because we don't want them to be able to just join right back, right? And then we want to get the join message, and we want to go ahead and set that to nothing because we don't want any message. Then we're putting them in our player manager, or well, we're setting up a new player manager. We're putting that in our player manager hash map. And then we are going to add the players to the in-game array list, and which is used to keep track of the players in the game, even the ones, or only the ones that are actually in the game and not dead. And then we're going to go ahead and do the lobby wait, which, if you don't remember, is just this right now. It's whenever the player joins, it checks to see how many players are online. It sends a message, but I actually changed that to a personalized message. But we'll get back to this class and we'll fix all that up later on. Okay, and so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up our event, our leave event. So public void, and now it's okay, yeah. So public void on leave player quit event, and we'll go ahead and import that. And kind of the same thing here. Periodic save, yeah, because I had Eclipse open up on my other computer there, so it kind of got a little messed up. Alright, so it's kind of the same thing here. We're just going to grab this right here, because I don't really want to type that all out again. And we're going to go ahead and say event.set quit message. We're going to set it to nothing, because we don't want anybody to really know that the player left. And then we're going to go ahead and remove them from all of the hash maps and everything. So we're going to go ahead and do player manager dot remove dot player manager dot remove. Why is that doing that? Remove UUID. And I should really fix that so it's a capital M. Oops. Alright, we'll just do that later on. And then we're going to go ahead and say plugin dot players in game, and we're going to go ahead and remove them. And we're going to go and remove player. And then we got to go ahead and do player or plugin dot player left game dot add player. And I mean, I guess you could do UUIDs with this. Maybe we'll go back through and do UUIDs with this, but I just didn't really want to do it. So now we're going to be doing one of our most dense parts of this plugin, which is the actual player TNT tag function. So what we need to do is we just go ahead and this is going to be on an entity damage by entity event. So an event handler, public void, player TNT tag, and this is entity damage by entity event. It's a long, very long event name. And now we're using this because it's going to be the easiest way to get both the tagger and the tagged, because this will register both. You could do interact, like play interact with entity, but that only works on right clicks, and we want this to work on left clicks, because left click is better, and that way the player gets damaged, they get pushed back a little bit, and then that way we'll be able to tell, you'll be able to tell if you got tagged, and we'll also have a little message as well. Alright, so this is going to be pretty dense here, so try to follow along and try to move a little bit slower than I normally do. So we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to say event.getEntity. So we're going to say if event.getEntity is an instance of player, we will go ahead and run this code. And we would just have to fix that real quick. And I always do that. Instance of. So we're saying if they're an instance of a player, because we don't want this to run if it's like a pig or anything like that, because we don't really care about pigs. Then we're going to go ahead and say event.setDamage, and we want to set it to 0, because we want no damage to happen to the player when they get punched. We just want it to, they'll still have like the sound and like the red that happens to them, but we don't want anything else to happen to them. And then we want to go ahead and say if event.getDamager is instance of player, and event.getEntity is instance. Well, I guess we don't really have to do this one. I don't know why I have that in there double, because we do it right up there. So we can really just say if damager is instance of, so we can actually just do this all right here, and event.getDamager is instance of player. Perfect. That actually works a lot better. So now we got to set everybody's values up here. So we're going to go ahead and say player, player, which is tagger, equals player, event.getDamager. And then we want to get their UUID. So UUID, tagger UUID equals tagger.getUniqueID. Hopefully you guys know how to do all this stuff already. And we want to go ahead and say player manager, tagger player manager equals plugin.playermanager.get tagger UUID, because we want to be able to get all of their player manager values. And then we have to do the same thing for the tag. So we're just going to go ahead and copy all of this. And yep, that's okay. We'll go ahead and paste that. Don't worry, that error won't come up on yours. And we're going to change this to getEntity. And we're going to change this to tagged, 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 tagged. All right, so now we have the tagger's information and the tagged information. So we want to say if tagger player manager dot has TNT equal to true, and tagged player manager dot has TNT equal to, equal to true. I lost my train of thought there. We actually want to go ahead and set this event canceled. So now what is this for? And we'll just go ahead and return that because we just don't want it to go any further. Alright, so we have this in place because if for some reason a tagger thinks, well, maybe it's a glitch and I can tag someone who already has TNT and get rid of my TNT, which could work if we didn't have this line of code in here. But we want to go ahead and say if the tagger tags somebody who also has TNT, we just want to set that event canceled, and they won't be able to tag that person, and then we'll go ahead and send them a message. So let's say tagger.sendMessage, and we will just go ahead and do this because I don't really feel like using chat colors, and that's Alt 2 1, We want to say this player already has TNT. Just something as simple as that, and then we will go ahead and return that. And now the next thing we want to go ahead and do is we're just going to finish this one event off here. We're going to go ahead and say if tagger player manager dot is has TNT equal to true, we will go ahead and say tagger player manager dot set has TNT false, because if they actually get a successful tag, we want to set their TNT status to false, and we want to go ahead and say tagger dot get inventory dot set helmet, helmet, and we'll set that to null because we just don't want it to be anything. And then we want to go ahead and clear their inventory, because we'll work on a method that sets their hotbar to TNT when they get tagged, which is actually coming up right here. And then we're going to go ahead and say tag player manager dot set has TNT to true, and then we want to go ahead and say tagger dot get inventory dot set helmet, and we want to set that to a new item stack of material dot TNT, and we'll go ahead and import item stack. I think I imported the right one. Let me make sure I import the right Bukkit chat color though. I did not import the right material. Okay. So material, Bukkit, there we go. Alright. And then we also want to play them a little sound. So we want to say tagged dot play sound. And we want to go ahead and say tagger dot get location. And then we want sound dot entity TNT primed, and hopefully it'll give us a fix for it. Import sound. Didn't. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and say TNT primed. There we go. And then we'll just set this to 1 and 1. And then we want to go ahead and send them a message saying tag.send message, and we want that to be in C. And now I think I might implement like titles just so it's easier to tell that you've been tagged, but we'll do that in a later video. You have been tagged. All right. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and say tag.get inventory dot add item, and we want a new item stack of material dot TNT, and we want 576 of them, because that'll fill their entire hotbar. All right, so that is all I'm going to do for you guys in this video. Quick overview of what we did. We set up the player joins. Whenever the player joins the server, we check if the server is, we start if the game has already started. If it hasn't, we will run this code and we will add them to all of our hash maps and arrays. If not, we're going to push them back. If it has started, we're just going to push them back to the main server. On leave, we clear all of the values and we add them to the players left, so that way we can reprimand them for leaving, or we can just make sure that they're not able to join back. Then we did the player TNT tag, which basically we checked to see if the entity and the damager were both an instance of player, and if so, we set the event damage to 0. Then we got all of their information and their UIDs. Then we checked to see if the tagger and the player both had TNT value set in their player manager, and if they did, we went ahead and set this event canceled to true, and then we send the tagger a message saying the player already has TNT, and then if the player is successful at tagging somebody without TNT, we go ahead and reset them back to a normal player, and then we go ahead and set the new tagged. We set the tagged back to. We set the tagged player to what the old tagger had. We set them to the now new tagger. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a comment, drop a like, and subscribe. I will also put this code up on GitHub for you guys, so you guys can go ahead and have access to that. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and it's been a pleasure. And we did not use this, so we gotta go ahead and fix that to tagged. Alright, thanks for watching.